A new cell phone law for the state of Missouri issued. A new Missouri law will make it illegal for drivers to hold their cell phones in their hands while behind the wheel. It's called the Siddons-Benning Hands-Free Law, and legislators named it that after 34-year-old Randall Siddons of Columbia died from the injuries he sustained after being hit by a driver in 2019 who was video chatting on a cell phone and speeding. Siddons' widow, Stephanie Benning, shared her memories of her husband's death with KRCG, who this article is from, and the impact it had on her family. The pain and loss suffered by Benning's family caused her to fight for change in the Missouri legislature. The new law required all drivers in Missouri to use hands-free cell phone features while behind the wheel. Benning said the new law will save lives. We're using our story to change history. I wanted to show my kids, my family, and my friends that even in tragedy, we can use our story to change history. I really, really wanted to raise victors and not victims. She says the world has enough victims. Victors can change things, which I love. Now, the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety reported there were nearly 200,000 distracted driving-related crashes that killed more than 800 people between 2012 and 2021. Now, AAA officials said distracting driving in Missouri has actually become an epidemic. Their spokesperson, Nick Chabaria, said laws and legislation are only one component to changing drivers' behaviors. We see it as a three-system approach with laws enforcement as well as public education. Now, Chris, I found it interesting that the new law does not allow Missouri law enforcement officers to pull someone over solely for distracted driving. Officers must witness another offense such as speeding or crossing the center line before they can add a separate texting and driving offense. So that's interesting because really law enforcement is kind of handcuffed on enforcing that, because if they see you driving down the road with your phone right here, if you're not speeding, if you're driving within the lines, they really can't pull you over for that alone, meaning that would get thrown out or would be inadmissible in court. So interesting, because I feel like I don't know how effective that's going to be unless you have other reason to pull someone over, but it is a new law that everyone needs to be mindful of. Make sure you put your phones down, have your eyes up, and try to switch to a hands-free device. It's easier now than ever before with Bluetooth. These new cars, a lot of them drive themselves. Yeah. Make it easy to communicate with your phone.
Yeah, and this is an important thing. Our society has changed so that these are so incredibly important for most all of us now, and we do so much work on these things. They're basically computers, and so it can be very, very, very easy, and I'm guilty of it, where you're driving down the road and you're, texting back about a business deal or, something along those lines, and it really is very unsafe.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. It's just, unfortunately, it's something that we have to take into account. And our area is getting so busy traffic-wise now. I mean, the traffic is just so heavy on 54 and 5 and all that stuff. So it's just pretty important, I think. It's a good thing.
It's a good to remind each other, too, that I love you. I don't want something to happen to you.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty as well. It's just so easy to do.
Oh, it is,
When
yeah.
you're busy and you got a car ride, you feel like you have things, but it takes that one time, as in this situation, and left behind a wife and kiddos. I mean, very sad situation. That's the reality for all of us. That could be us. So phones down, eyes up. Make sure you pay attention to the road.
Yeah, and don't use the excuse that we're not in the big city. I mean, that is a whole element, driving in city traffic and stuff. But here we have our own issues. We've got steep cliffs, we've got quick drop-offs on narrow roads,
windy roads.
All those things make it more difficult to drive here than it would in the city, and a phone is just going to run you off the road. So